Hey, aren't you going to contribute more around the house? If you're going to be that kind of wife, maybe you should just leave. I was stunned by my mother-in-law's words. Her harsh tone cut through the air, and I felt a chill in my chest. Her cold eyes pierced into me, making me feel smaller with each passing second. Francisco has us, and we don't need you anymore. You always look tired and seem to accomplish nothing. My sister-in-law chimed in with a dismissive sneer, adding to the weight of the situation. I turned to Francisco, hoping for some support, but his response was even worse. I agree with my mother and sister, he said flatly, his words a sharp slap to my face. I'm busy with work, and it's becoming a problem if you don't help with the chores. Besides, I've been getting along with the new part-time girl at the cafe, and frankly, you're just baggage. Can you pack your things and find somewhere else to live? His words hit me like a punch in the gut. I looked at the three of them, all of them blaming me. The room felt suffocating, and I could feel anger rising in my chest. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my racing heart. I understand, I said, forcing myself to calm down. I need some time to think. I turned and left the room, feeling the weight of their words pressing down on me. I had always tried my best, but it seemed like nothing was ever good enough. My name is Michelle, and I'm 32 years old. I've always worked hard, both at my job and around the house. I'm proud of what I've accomplished. I've been with Francisco for years now, and although it's common for women to keep working after marriage, I truly enjoy my job. It's something I'm passionate about, but now, it seemed like everything I did, everything I wasn't enough. One morning, as I was getting ready for work, Francisco approached me with a pleading look in his eyes. Michelle, can you take care of this? He asked, handing me a stack of receipts and bills. You should manage the cafe's finances properly. I forced a smile, trying to stay calm. Sorry, but I'm really bad at that. Francisco and I met when he was working part-time at a cafe I frequented. We started chatting, and over time, we began dating. Eventually, we got married, and Francisco became the owner of the cafe. But while he was great at running the business, he always struggled with the paperwork. He constantly asked me to handle the accounting, even though it was something I wasn't comfortable with. Just as I was about to leave for work, my mother-in-law called out to me, Michelle, I suddenly feel like eating Chinese food tonight. Could you rinse the rice well? Also, Mia and the kids are coming this weekend, so we need to plan their meals. I nodded, trying not to let the stress of the situation show. Sure, I got it, I said, before rushing out the door. When Francisco suggested we live with his mother after we got married, I didn't think twice. My mom's lonely by herself. Why don't we all live together in the big house? He had said. It seemed like a good idea at the time, but now, living with his mother had become a constant source of tension. To be honest, she wasn't very good at managing the house. After my father-in-law passed away, she started living on a pension, which she mostly spent on dining out or ordering takeout. Housework seemed to be something she never quite understood, and Francisco, well, he believed that housework was a woman's job, so that made it my responsibility. On weekends, when Mia, my sister-in-law, would visit with her kids, my to-do list grew longer. The weekends, which should have been a time for rest, turned into chaotic days spent preparing meals and looking after the kids. Then came a bombshell. Michelle, I'm getting divorced, and will be moving back here with the kids next month, Mia announced one day. I was taken aback. Really? Do you have something to say? I asked, trying to process what she was telling me. No, I was just thinking it must have been hard for you, she replied, her eyes downcast. When are you moving? I want to move as soon as possible, she said, as if it was no big deal. I was surprised, but a part of me hoped that Mia's return would make things easier. I thought maybe she would help out with the housework, and maybe things would be more manageable, but that hope didn't last long. It became clear that Mia had never learned how to take care of a home. She spent most of her time lounging on the couch, watching TV, and eating snacks. Her neglect of housework might have been one of the reasons her marriage had fallen apart. Now, I found myself preparing meals for her kids, making their lunches for kindergarten, and running the house almost entirely on my own. The extra work only added to my already overwhelming schedule. Then one day, everything seemed to crash down at once. My work at the company became more hectic, and I started working longer hours. I'd come home exhausted, only to find the house in disarray. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law would complain about everything. Is dinner ready yet? Why are you home so late? When I couldn't keep up with the chores, they'd throw in a cold remark. Michelle, there's a mountain of laundry waiting, don't slack off just because you're busy. Inside, I wanted to scream, but I kept it in. I didn't want to add fuel to the fire. Michelle, are you standing up to your mother-in-law? That's a bit bold, Mia commented, but for the kids' sake, please try to make homemade meals. I couldn't take it anymore. I snapped back. If you have so much free time at home, why don't you help out once in a while? I overheard Francisco's sister later saying, haha, Francisco owns a store, so Michelle doesn't need to work, right? If that's the case, maybe she should try a little harder at home. It felt like they were piling on the pressure. I was doing everything I could, but it was never enough. Finally, after weeks of holding my frustrations in, I decided to speak up to Francisco. I've been so busy lately, and neither your mother nor your sister is helping out with household chores. It's really hard. Francisco, looking irritated, shot back, Michelle, you're not speaking ill of our family, are you? That's not what I mean, but it's hard for me to do everything by myself. If you helped out once in a while, things would be a little easier for me. I'm busy managing the store. It's different from a regular job. Housework is the wife's responsibility, right? His words stung, but I stayed quiet. I needed a plan, a way out of this suffocating environment. The next day, I took matters into my own hands. I grabbed my phone and started shopping for the things I needed. I ordered the latest washing machine, a cleaning robot that would take care of the dust and dirt, and a rice cooker that would save me time and effort. When they arrived a few days later, I couldn't help but feel a sense of relief. The appliances were exactly what I needed to make my daily life easier. As I set up the new washing machine, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law walked in, their eyes wide with surprise. Wait, Michelle, you. A fresh start. The sound of the doorbell echoed through the house as I walked into the living room, feeling a small sense of pride. The new washing machine, the cleaning robot, and the other kitchen appliances were all set up and ready to go. The old washing machine was still working, but I had heard that the new one would save time. Plus, it was nice to have things running a bit more smoothly. As I admired the new appliances, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law came into the room, their eyes immediately drawn to the shiny new gadgets. Got such a fancy washing machine, but the old one was still good, wasn't it? My mother-in-law asked, raising an eyebrow. I smiled gently. The old one took too long. I heard this new one does the job quicker. Their eyes shifted to the cleaning robot and the new kitchen appliances, curiosity and judgment mixing in their expressions. See, I've also upgraded these, I said, a little proud of my choices. The cleaning robot will save a lot of time, and the cooking appliances will make things easier. Michelle, come over here for a moment, my mother-in-law called out. I walked over, noticing the look on her face. She looked surprised, and I couldn't help but smirk to myself. Francisco sat down next to me, and the three of us began to talk. Why did you buy so many things? My mother-in-law asked, her voice sharp. Do you really need all these new appliances? Isn't it just because you want to make things a bit easier? I thought it might make things around the house run a little more smoothly, I replied, feeling a bit uneasy under her gaze. Her eyes narrowed. Relying too much on machines, aren't we? My sister-in-law waved her hand dismissively, but I stood my ground. The old appliances are still good. Francisco works hard managing the cafe. Maybe you should save a little, too. Francisco nodded, agreeing with his sister. In a soft voice, I murmured, maybe you're right. A hint of anger flashed in my mother-in-law's eyes. Are you even thinking about our household? She demanded, her tone rising. I sighed, trying to explain. I really am, but I'm just a bit exhausted. My mother-in-law's voice grew louder. Enough, I can't believe you're our daughter-in-law. My sister-in-law, with a disgusted look, added, I'll watch over Francisco. We don't need someone like you here. I looked at Francisco, hoping for some support, but his face was cold. I understand what Mom and Sis are saying. It's hard to have a wife who doesn't do housework. The weight of his words hit me hard. He continued, his voice dripping with coldness. I have my own store, so I decide how to use my money, but having a wife who spends on whatever she wants might be difficult. I was stunned. The anger that boiled inside me couldn't escape, but I didn't let it show. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. Fine, I said quietly, I'll look for a new place. Finally, you understand, Francisco said with a smug grin. I'll feel much better without you around. That night, he signed the divorce papers, and I packed my things. I left the house with just the essentials and the signed papers, feeling a strange mix of relief and heartbreak. When I arrived at my new apartment, it was a modest, weekly rental, but it was mine. I could finally breathe again. I submitted the divorce papers at the city office, and soon after, I got a call from my boss. There was a promotion waiting for me, a position I had been hesitant to take while dealing with my family issues. But now, I grabbed the opportunity with both hands. I was promoted to section manager, and for the first time in a long while, I felt proud of myself. Months passed, and life settled into a routine. I threw myself into my work, pouring all my energy into my job. It wasn't easy, but I felt more accomplished than I had in years. Then one day, my phone rang. It was my former mother-in-law. I was surprised to see her name pop up. We hadn't spoken since I left. I didn't answer at first. She had made it clear that she didn't want me around, and I wasn't eager to open that door again. But after a moment of hesitation, I picked up. "Hello, is something wrong?" I asked, trying to keep my voice neutral. "Michelle, I finally got through. I didn't think you'd answer after so many calls," she said, sounding a bit desperate. I was calm. "It's been a while. What's going on?" There was a pause on the other end before she spoke again, her voice softer now. "How's your new life?" I couldn't help but smile, feeling genuinely happy. "It's great. I love my new apartment. Work is going well. I even got promoted. I'm living freely." "That's good to hear," she said, her voice hesitant. "Michelle, can you come back home?" I was caught off guard. "Why would I come back?" I asked, my heart pounding. "We're struggling financially," she admitted. I thought about it for a moment before responding. "Francisco's Cafe only makes about $1,000 a month, right? If no one else in the family works, it's bound to be tough." She sounded shocked. "You knew?" "Of course, I handled all the accounting. I knew everything." Francisco pretended things were fine, but I saw the truth. It's almost laughable how unaware he was. There was a long silence before she spoke again. "You didn't tell us. We didn't know you were doing so well in your new job. We didn't know you were contributing so much to the household expenses." I sighed, my tone steady. "Yes, I was contributing more than $3,000 a month. Without me, you wouldn't have managed." The truth hung in the air. I had been the one holding everything together, covering the gaps in Francisco's failing business, and now they were struggling. "Can you please come back?" she asked again, almost pleading. Curious, I asked, "So how's Francisco's Cafe doing now?" Her voice faltered. "It's not good. We might have to close soon. The part-time workers keep quitting, and the sales are down." I couldn't hold back a small, bitter laugh. "It's hard to keep a business going when you don't do the work properly. You know how many women would want to support a man like that?" She fell silent. I continued, a little sarcastically, "I'm a bit busy right now. I'm sure you can handle it." She started talking about how things had fallen apart at home, how everything was a mess, how the appliances I had taken were missed. "The house is chaotic without you," she admitted reluctantly, "and without the appliances, it's been hard." "Well," I said, my voice firm, "I bought those appliances for my own convenience. They were mine. I took them because I needed them." She didn't argue, but I could hear the exhaustion in her voice as she tried to explain the situation. "I really don't want to come back," I said. "You've got your own problems to deal with now. It's not my responsibility anymore." She was silent for a moment, then said, "I'm sorry, Michelle, can you reconsider?" I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the past year. "I don't think we can ever go back to the way things were. I'm not the same person anymore." I paused before adding, "It must be hard for you, but I'm moving forward, and I'm not looking back." I hung up, blocking her number so I wouldn't be bothered again. Life continued. I spent my days at work, and on weekends, I enjoyed the freedom I had fought for. My mind no longer lingered on the past. Months later, I passed by the cafe where Francisco used to work. The place was quiet, empty. It seemed so different from the busy spot it had once been. I felt a wave of nostalgia but also relief. As I walked through the old town, I saw a "sold" sign in front of my former in-laws' house. Curious, I spoke to an old neighbor who told me they had sold the house and moved to a small apartment nearby. Their new home was full of arguments, with the neighbors complaining about the noise and the smell of garbage. I couldn't help but feel a little sorry for them, but then again, they never seemed to try. Maybe things could have been different if they had put in the effort. As I thought about all that had happened, I realized how far I had come. My life had changed in ways I never imagined, but I was happier now than I had ever been. And then, one day, a guy from work confessed his feelings for me. "I admire how hard you work," he said. We started dating, and for the first time in a long while, I looked forward to the future. I didn't know what it held, but for once, I was excited. If I ever get married again, I thought, I want it to be for the right reasons, and this time, I was ready to be happy.